This is me, and I want to send a letter to my friend James, who is living little bit far from my village. So I took the letter and I went to a post office and dropped the letter. Now from the post office, the postman took the letter and he went to the village where James lives. Then he delivered the letter to Mr. James. So here, James is my friend and I know where he lives. But how the postman know the James? How the postman know where to deliver this letter? He doesn't know James personally. So how the postman know this letter should be delivered to James? The answer is there is something is called the address. Yes, when I write the letter to James, I write James' address on the top of the letter so the postman can read and understand this letter need to be delivered to whom. So he understands from the address James is living at the Gayatri village in Cochin city and his house number is 104 and the person name is James Joss. So here this address helped the postman to deliver the letter. So the humans are living in the social environment and everybody should be recognized by their address. So what about the network devices in a network? How do they recognize in a network? Welcome to the world of MAC address. Welcome to CCNA 200-301, Implementing and Administering Cisco Solutions, Chapter number 13, MAC Address. In this chapter, we will explore the concept of MAC address. We will see how a MAC address is look like and identified. We will see how to find the MAC address of your computer. We will discuss the advantages of MAC address. We will discuss the disadvantages of the MAC address. And finally, we will show how to look up a MAC address. Now let's talk about the MAC address. What is the MAC address? What is its definition? MAC address stands for Media Access Control Address. It simply means that for every media in a network, to control its access, it should have an address. And this address is called the MAC address or the Media Access Control Address. It is also called the hardware address or physical address. So now we are learning the CCNA. We step into the world of network. So during our future session, lot of time we will mention the word hardware address or the physical address. And this hardware address or physical address simply mean the MAC address or the Media Access Control Address. It is a unique 12-character alphanumeric attribute that is used to identify the individual electronic devices on a network. So first of all, it is saying it's a unique. That means each one of them are identical. You cannot see the same MAC address assigned to two different devices. In normal cases, you cannot see the duplicates of the MAC address anywhere in the world unless there is a human error happen from the manufacturer. And it is a 12-character alphanumeric attributes. That means this address contain the numbers and alphabets together. And what is the purpose of this MAC address? Its purpose is to identify the individual electronics devices in a network. That means network is an interconnection of multiple devices. And how do we recognize each device in a network? Simply saying, with the help of MAC address, each device in a network should have their individual physical address and we can recognize the device with the help of this physical address. A MAC address is simply look like this. Here you can see there are 12 characters and it is a combination of numbers and alphabets. And there are 12 characters. This is the one of the way to denote the MAC address. Each two of them are separated with a hyphen. We can also denote the MAC address in a different way that will show like this. Here each two characters are separated with the help of a colon. These are the two common way of representing the MAC address. Now when we talk about the MAC address, there are 12 characters. And when we group two characters together, we get 6 groups. And each group represent 8 bit. So this group represent 8, and this group represent 8. In the same way, each of this group represent 8. So here total we have 6 8 bits, and when we calculate it together we get 48 bit. So basically we can say the MAC address are 48 bit address. The first 24 bit is known as Organizationally Unique Identifier, OUI. The last 24 bit address is known as Network Interface Controller Specific, or NIC. So what is the difference between the OUI and NIC? Let's find out. So OUI number is provided by IEEE. IEEE stands for the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer. IEEE is the authorized committee that created a standard for the MAC address and many other things. So according to IEEE, each electronic device manufacturer should register with them, and they supposed to get one unique organizational unique identifier from the IEEE. So this identification number cannot use by any other manufacturer. So from this way, we can understand by analyzing the first 24 bit address of a MAC address, this MAC address belongs to which manufacturer, such as Cisco, HP, Microsoft, etc. Now we can see in the screen some sample unique identifier. Now in this picture we can see some well-known unique identifier manufacturer such as Cisco, Google, HP and Huawei. Now let's talk about the NIC, Network Interface Controller Specific. So NIC number is provided by the manufacturer. The manufacturer can design the NIC. So the MAC address is basically the combination of the OUI and NIC together. The OUI represent the manufacturer and the NIC represent the Network Interface Controller Specific. How to find out the MAC address? Let's see how we can identify the MAC address of our Windows computer. There are multiple ways to find out the MAC address of a Windows computer, and we will discuss about it here. So one of the way to find the MAC address, first go to the command prompt. So let me go to the command prompt. Then type the command ipconfig/all. And when you type that, you can see the IP configuration information of your all network interface card. So here, so this is my network interface card, Realtek PCI GB family controller, and here I can see the IP address assigned to my computer, and here can you see the physical address. So this physical address is the MAC address of the computer. Here you can see my MAC address is 98FA9B4D40E7. So here is the MAC address for another interface. This is the Bluetooth interface. So in this way, by using this command, we can identify the MAC address of your Windows computer. And there is also another command to find out the MAC address of your network interface card. So for that, I need to go to command prompt again. Then type the command get MAC. So when we type that command, it will display the MAC address of all the interface. Here you can see there are 4 network interface for my computer, and all the 4 MAC addresses displayed here. And here you can see the media is disconnected. That means there is no media connected to that interface card. And the one it is showing device TCP IP, that means that card is active. Now the third option to find out the MAC address of your Windows computer, we need to go to control panel, then go to network and intranet, then go to network and sharing center. And from here, left side, click on the change adapter setting. And here we can see all the network interface. Here I can go to each interface and go to details. Here you can see the IP address assigned to my computer and the description of the network interface card. And here is something called physical address. So this is the MAC address of this interface. In the same way, we can go to the other network interface and understand the MAC address of the interface. Please note that in this way, we can identify the MAC address of only the connected devices. The disconnected devices MAC address we cannot find in this way. For that, we need to use the command prompt. Now let's talk about the advantages of MAC address. The point number one, uniqueness. Each MAC address is unique, which means that devices on the network can be easily identified and managed. For example, in this image we can see in a network there is 4 computers. None of the manufacturer make the network devices with the same MAC address. For example, the computer 1, 2, 3 and 4 have different MAC address. So that means they are easily identified in a network. So MAC address is a unique address. Now point number 2, simplicity. MAC addresses are easily to configure and manage and do not require any additional network infrastructure. When a manufacturer make any network device, they integrate the network interface in the device itself and they induce the MAC address into that network devices. The end user doesn't require to make any extra configuration to set up the MAC address from their side. Point number 3, security. MAC addresses can be used to restrict the access to a network by only the following devices with authorized MAC address to connect. So in a network device, we can use a network access control that only some specific MAC addresses can get the access to the network or to any specific resources. The remaining MAC address doesn't get the access to that network or that specific resources. So in this way, we can control the access of the network using the MAC address security. Point number 4, fault tolerance. In case of a hardware or software failure, a device can be easily replaced without affecting the network as long as the new device has the same MAC address as the old one. When we consider the network diagram as shown in the screen, suppose we have provided one specific network access to PC1 by considering its MAC address. Now what will happen when the PC1 is faulty? We need to replace the PC1. But when we replace the PC1 and we put another PC there, its MAC address is different. So it will not have the same network access, same like PC1. Again, we need to go to the network access control and add the new MAC address to that so that the new device also can get the access. So instead of doing that, if we can take out the PC1 network interface card which have the same MAC address, they can install in the new PC. So the new PC also will have the same MAC address. So we don't want to put any specific network access control changes in our network. It can run same like PC1 because the network access is mainly depends on the MAC address here. When we replace the network interface card and install in the new PC, it will have the same access of the PC1. Now point number 5, multicasting. MAC addresses can be used for multicasting, allowing a single packet to be sent to multiple devices at once. So in this image, the computer 1 is going to send one traffic to computer 2 and another traffic to computer 3 and another traffic to computer 4. In this image, computer 1 wants to send some traffic to computer 2. So how this traffic is going to the computer 2? The MAC address of the computer 1 is considered as a source and the MAC address of the computer 2 is considered as a destination. And the network switch identify the source and destination and send the traffic accordingly. This is the one-to-one communication. So what if we want to send the computer 1 the same packet to all the computer? In that case, the computer 1 can send a broadcast. So the switch can understand it is a broadcast traffic and it can forward that traffic to all the computer in that network. This is one of the beauty of MAC address. Now point number 6, efficiency. MAC address allow for efficient communication on the network as they enable the devices to quickly and easily identify and communicate with each other. So just consider the network diagram showing the screen. There is 4 computer and 1 network switch. Here the computer want to send one traffic to the computer 4. So this is a layer 2 network. So in this case, switch consider the MAC address of the computer 1 as the source and MAC address of the computer 4 as destination. So how switch know this traffic want to go from computer 1 and computer 4? How the traffic is distributed? Here the switch store the MAC address of each devices that connected to it. So that means switch know the computer 1 is connected to it port number 1, computer 2 is connected to it port number 2, computer 3 is connected to port number 3 and computer 4 is connected to port number 4. And switch learn the MAC address of all the devices so it can understand the interface of all the computer it is connected to it. And according to that, it is sending the traffic in an efficient way to the destination. Now, point number 7, lower network overhead. MAC addresses reduce the network overhead by allowing the device to communicate directly with each other without the need of additional routing or addressing. So in the network diagram shown in the screen, we can see there is a network A and network B. Network A is a different LAN and network B is a different LAN. So if the PC1 sends some traffic to the PC4, here we need to do something called routing. That means both are different network. So we need to route the traffic from network A to network B. And for this purpose, we are using a router here. The main function of this router is to route the traffic from network A to the network B. So what if the PC1 want to send some traffic to the PC2? In this case, do we need a router here? No, because this is the layer 2 traffic and it is completely managed by the network switch. It doesn't want any routing. So in the same network, we can use the MAC address for the efficient communication in between the devices. No need for additional routing or addressing. Now point number 8, ease of troubleshooting. MAC addresses can be used to troubleshoot the network issue by identifying the source of the problem and tracking network activity. So in any network, if we want to troubleshoot the network issue, we can easily identify the network issue using the source MAC address and destination MAC address. We can use some packet capture software like Wireshark and identify where is the problem. This is very helpful for network troubleshooting for the network professionals. Now point number 9, flexibility. MAC addresses can be used to support a variety of network configuration and topologies, including peer-to-peer, client-server and hybrid model. For any kind of this topology, we are using the MAC address for the communication. Now let's discuss about the disadvantages of MAC address. So the point number 1, limited address space. MAC addresses are 48-bit number, which means that there is a finite number of possible MAC addresses available. This can lead to an address conflict if multiple devices have the same MAC address. So as we know, the MAC addresses are 48-bit address. So that means 48 power of 2, which is coming over 281 trillion addresses in this world. So this MAC address plan to exist till AD 2100. That means the existing available MAC addresses we can use till the year 2100. Till that year we are safe. We have enough MAC address. So what will happen after that year? After that year, maybe the most of the MAC addresses are already utilized by all the manufacturer. They cannot make any more new MAC address because they already utilize for all the devices they manufacture in these all years. So what will happen next? So either they need to decommission some old MAC address, then utilize the same MAC address for the new devices. So in that case, what will happen? Just suppose the old device and new device came in the same network, then there will be MAC address conflict. When the network switch learn the MAC address from these two devices, they will get the same MAC address at two different interfaces. So where the switch will forward the traffic to? Switch will be confused because it see two same MAC address at two different interfaces. This can cause the network problem. Now the point number 2, spoofing. MAC addresses can be easily spoofed, allowing unauthorized devices to gain access to the network. So how to do that thing? How it is affecting the network? So in this image, we can see the PC1 and PC2 are connected to network A and one database server is connected to network B. So in this scenario, the PC1 have a different MAC address from the PC2. Just suppose we provided the network access for the PC1 MAC address to access the database server. PC1 can access the database server. And what if some hacker came in between and he is pretending that it has the same MAC address of the PC1? Then of course the hacker will get access to the database server. So this process is called spoofing. Spoofing means we are creating a replication of an existing MAC address into a different device so that that different device can get the access to the network in the same level of the first device. So this is one of the disadvantages of the MAC address. Now point number 3, inefficiency. MAC addresses are not hierarchical, which can make it difficult to efficiently manage large network. So in this image, we can see the network A and network B. The PC1 and PC2 are connected to network A and PC3, PC4 connected to network B. Now, when the PC1 want to communicate to the PC2, the source address should be the MAC address of the PC1 and the destination address should be the MAC address of the PC2. But what if the PC1 want to communicate to the PC3? Here, there are two different kind of traffic happening. One is in network A and one is in network B. In network A, the source address is considered as MAC address of the PC1 and the destination address is considered as the MAC address of the default gateway because the traffic want to go from network A to network B. And in second case, in network B, what is the traffic happening? The source address is considered as the gateway interface of the router and the destination address is considered as the MAC address of the PC3. So, when the traffic going from one network to a different network, the source and destination MAC address is getting changed to support that traffic. So it is very difficult to efficiently manage in large network to identify the source and destination because it keep changing when it's route from one network to another network. Now point number 4, static addressing. MAC addresses are typically assigned at the time of manufacture and it cannot be easily changed. This can be a disadvantage of a situation where the devices need to be reconfigured or replaced. So this kind of situation can happen in day-to-day network. Just imagine the PC1 have access to reach the PC3 and this network access is provided by any access list or MAC address based security. What if the PC1 is faulty and we need to put another PC? So when we put the another PC, we have an opportunity to replace the network card of the PC1 and put it in the new device so that it can get the same access level of the PC1. Because it is taking the same MAC address, here the MAC address doesn't change. What if the PC1 doesn't have a network interface card? Its network is directly integrated to the motherboard. So in this case, we cannot replace the network interface card. We need to use the new MAC address of the new device. In that case, the device coming at the position of PC1 will not have access to the PC3 because its MAC address got changed. And again here the network administrator need to add the new MAC address in the access list or network access control to get the access. Now point number 5, limited scope. MAC addresses are only used for identifying devices within a local network segment and it cannot be used to identify devices outside this segment. That means in this image we have network A and network B. So network A there are two PC connected PC1 and PC2 and network B there is two PC connected PC3 and PC4. So the MAC address of PC1 and PC2 are valid in network A only because when the traffic move from network A to network B to a different network, the source and destination MAC address is getting changed. The MAC address of one device we can only use it in that local segment, in that layer 2. When the traffic pass to next level, next network, that MAC address doesn't have any significant role in that traffic. Now point number 6, hardware dependent. MAC addresses are tied to the network interface card NIC of the device. MAC addresses are tied to the network interface card of a device, which means that if the NIC fail or is replaced, the MAC address also change. Point number 7, lack of encryption. MAC addresses are sent in plain text, which can them vulnerable to interception and eavesdropping. So the communication happening between the MAC addresses are not encrypted and they are in the plain text. So that means any middleman, any hacker can connect their computer to the network and intercept the communication between the devices. They can easily see what kind of communication is going between the source and destination. Point number 8, no inherent security. While MAC filtering can be used to restrict the access to a network, MAC addresses themselves do not provide any inherent security feature. So in any network, the communication between source and destination can be controlled with the help of a network access control based on the MAC address of the source and destination. This is the only security feature we can use the MAC address. Other than that, MAC address doesn't have any security feature. Point number 9. MAC address collision. In rare cases, MAC address can be collided, which can cause network disruption and make it difficult to identify and manage devices on the network. And this is very rare situation happening in a network. Now in this image we can see 4 computers are connected to one network switch. All of the 4 computers have different MAC address. When 2 or more computers in a network have the same MAC address, due to any reason, it can be any manufacturer defect from the manufacturer or because of any hard coding to the network interface card, in that situation, the communication to that MAC address can collide each other. That causes the network outage or network slowness. MAC address lookup. MAC address lookup is something like identify the MAC address and its manufacturer. So in the internet, there are multiple websites are available that we can search for the MAC address and find out the manufacturer of the MAC address. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, go to any web browser and go to Google and search for MAC address lookup. So when we enter that, we can see multiple websites are available to provide this service. So choose anyone. So here I am going to open the first link. Now we got an interface to search the MAC address. So let's search our MAC address. First of all, let me go to the command prompt and find out my computer MAC address. Okay, so this is my MAC address. So let me copy that and put it in here in the search box. Then we can see the company manufacturer this network device is Intel Corporate, and this is the address of the company, and the range they are using, it is provided here, and what kind of type it is mentioned here. So this is the way we are performing the MAC address lookup. Now let me go to the second one and copy that MAC address and enter it is here. So now we can see the company of this interface is created by LCFC Electronic Technology, and this is the address, and this is the range, and this is the type. Now when we go to the another one, copy that, paste it here, and again it is Intel Corporate. So in this way, we can identify the manufacturer of that network device using the MAC address lookup. So in this chapter, we have explored the concept of the MAC address. We have seen how a MAC address is look like and identified. We have seen how to find the MAC address of your computer. We have discussed about the advantages of the MAC address. We have discussed the disadvantages of the MAC address. We have shown how to look up a MAC address. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more videos.